This is the Chunk Destroyer, the most OP machine that you can get in all the mods 8, and today we're going to make it. Making this machine is no easy task. Last episode, we ventured into the end, killed the Ender Dragon, found an End City, and acquired a dragon's head. We set up melon power to get us started, just so we can produce enough power to make this quarry. For today's adventure, we begin our journey in the mines at the end of day 11. The Chunk Destroyer needs a ton of vanilla resources to make it. We're talking over 300 iron, over 250 diamonds, and honestly, way more redstone than we actually have. Which is why we're going to be using a redstone sight potion to help us. As I chug it down, day 12 begins. With our Fortune 5 pick, we quickly gather a ton of redstone and head back home. But before we attempt to make this monster of a machine, we need a way to power it wirelessly. To do that, we're going to make a Flux network. The first item that we're going to need is Flux dust, which, believe it or not, that's what we need redstone for. This has a special way to craft it, so we're going to be heading back to the overworld and digging our way all the way down to bedrock. For us to make this, we need to throw down a few stacks of redstone on top of some bedrock, place a piece of obsidian right above it, and then left click it with an empty hand. This will crush the redstone down into Flux dust. We quickly head back home to start crafting the items that we need for our first Flux network. What a good boy. First, we need to make plenty of Flux cores. We'll turn these into at least 5 Flux blocks, which will make us the Flux controller. Now we make a few more cores so we can make at least 1 Flux plug, and then I also decided to make a couple of Flux points. With the Flux plug, we want to place this wherever it can get power. I'll place it right on top of that energy pipe that's coming out of the gas burning generator, and then we'll open it up. From here, I'm going to click on the create a new network by clicking on this little plus button. I'll quickly just type in my super secret password, then head over to the network tab and click on my new network. Now we want to set up the Flux controller. This thing wirelessly charges our inventory for us, but we need to connect it to our network first. We place it down, open it up, choose our new network, and then we just toggle on the bypass limit. Now we're going to head over to the wireless charging tab, and I want to charge every slot that I can. So we'll click on each one of them, toggle it on, then click apply. So now we don't need this player transmitter anymore. I also want to move over my Wingen so that they can push power into my Flux network as well. With all of this set up, now I can place a point on the Flux ducts to power the machines. There's too many things called Flux in this game. Opening up the point, I make sure to select my new network, then throw in a piece of ore in my furnace just to make sure that it's all getting power. We've made our melon power wireless. So what do we need to do next? Oh yeah, we gotta make the Chunk Destroyer. Nope, we need a new storage setup. This isn't going to cut it for the vast amount of resources that we're going to get from the Chunk Destroyer. For me, that means it's time to set up refined storage. Refined storage isn't a too bad. Listen, I'm not going to get into this debate. If you'd like me to do a video explaining the difference between the two mods and what you should use, let me know in the comments below. The only thing that I'm going to say on this topic is that refined storage is a lot faster to get started with, and the auto crafting is extremely simple to set up. There's also a secret to using both RS and AE2 for storing all of your items. And the trick is, you don't actually store all of your items on your disks. And I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do that right after I find some slime balls. Which takes us to the Nether. Remember that fortress that we saw that we never explored? Well, now it's time to explore it. Checking the first chest I see, it's a bust. Just a few backpacks for us to use for later, which is okay, August. The next chest was the same exact way. No slime balls. It turns out that the fortress was a complete bust, so we grabbed some nether quartz and looked for another one. This leads us to a pirate ship, which had bad loot. It did have some netherite armor hanging up, but that actually kind of sucked. After flying around and checking every chest that I could find, it was obvious that the nether wasn't really a good place to give us the slime balls that we needed. So we headed back to the overworld to see what structures that we could find. As the next day dawns on us, we head to the nearby monastery to search for some more loot. I'm gonna go ahead and grab all these books because trust me, we're gonna need them for later. We're also gonna check out this chest, and it's another bust. Heading to the first floor, we also check out the barrels there. The first two kind of sucked, but the third one had some honeycombs. This was actually huge because it's going to help us start bees later, so we'll definitely need to hang on to them. I still couldn't find any slime balls, so I flew to the nearest dungeon tower. As I was making my way down, we bust into a very familiar place. This was perfect. There is so much loot here. There is bound to be some kind of slime balls, right? Chest after chest after chest after chest. Still nothing. We actually loot so many chests that we end up getting the loot 100 chests achievement, but all we ended up getting was magma cream. Feeling defeated, I head back home to see what we could do next. that is when I remembered that you can use the centrifugal separator, got it, nailed it, to break down magma cream into slime balls. This was easy enough, so I got started making the machine. I'm not going to say its name again because that sucked. We threw in our magma cream and waited for it to give us just enough slime balls to make a slime gate pearl. But he just couldn't take sitting around anymore, so he decided to come fight some slimes with us. Okay, you're doing a good job. You just come back over here. That one slime gate gave us almost 3 stacks of slime balls, which meant that we could get started with RS. The first block to get us started is called the controller, or the heart of our system, or whatever. This needs power, so we place it right onto the Flux ducts to make sure it connects. Next up, we make a crafting grid so I can get into the system. Now we'll need a place to store all of our storage disks, which we're only gonna make one. So I make a disk drive and place it down next to the grid. I want to use my system wirelessly as well, so I went ahead and made a wireless crafting grid, which means we'll need a wireless transmitter as well. We're not just gonna make the basic one though, because that's we want to make the advanced wireless transmitter. This has a base range of 1,000 blocks, which is like a ton better. Now we make sure that our wireless grid is connected to the system, and we can place it into our curio slot so that we can open it up using a keybind. I know I said we weren't gonna store most of our items on disk, but we still need to make at least one disk as a backup in case our system overflows. This will make much more sense later on, but for now I want to craft a 64K storage disk. I'll need to make a quick run for some sand so we can smelt it down into some glass. And while throwing it all into the furnace, I noticed that the sun was already setting. We needed to work a lot faster, and this furnace just wasn't fast enough, okay? That meant it was time for an upgrade. We had enough of everything to upgrade it all the way to obsidian. This allows it to smelt 6 items at the same time, and that's exactly what we need. With all of the glass, we were able to make the 64K storage drive and put it into our system. Unfortunately, the next part of this is not fast. It's painfully slow. I need to go through all of my items to separate out what I want to go in the system. So let me explain how I plan on doing this. Everything that I don't normally use or won't need like a ton of will go into my system. But things like iron, diamonds, mob drops, stuff that I need a ton of will stay outside of the system for now. I'm conveniently placing it into this backpack. So I'm just gonna go ahead and separate it all out. I'll shove in some items into the system, and the rest, like the iron and stuff, will be put into drawers, which means we'll need a ton of drawers. I'm literally just going to make an entire wall of drawers for this setup. Once I've placed a bunch of them down, I need to make 2 important tools, the configuration tool and the linking tool. With these 2, now we need the most important block in this entire setup, the storage controller. The controller is basically like the hub for our wall of drawers. It allows us to place everything in and out from just this block. But before we place this down, I also want to make some compacting drawers. This is going to be for our ingots and items that we need the block forms of more often, think like redstone or iron. I'm just gonna add these to the wall and start placing a few things in. For ingots like iron, I want to place in the nuggets first. I'll do the same thing for gold, but I'm not gonna do this for every ingot. I really just want the basic vanilla ones. Emeralds and diamonds also go into the compacting drawers, as well as redstone and lapis. Okay, now I want to place my storage controller right at the end. Using my configuration tool, I want to right click all of the drawers so that I can lock them first. This is important because I don't want the storage system shoving items into the empty slots of the drawers. Now I want to add all of the items into the drawer. I know this is a huge investment in the beginning, but it's definitely worth it in the end. Once I've got a good many items in, I can easily deposit everything from my inventory into the drawers. But the first thing I have to do is actually link the drawers to the controller first. That's what the linking tool is for. I just want to right click on the controller with it, swap the tool to multiple. Then I'm just gonna right click one corner of the drawer wall, and then I want to just right click the opposite corner. This will link all of them in one go, and now I can just mass deposit all of the items by right clicking into the controller. This really helps me figure out what items that it doesn't have a slot already already that needs to go in there. So I finished giving each item a slot in the drawers, clean up my backpack, and then move on to the next step of our storage system. So you might be asking, why are you doing all of this just for storage? You don't have that many items. What you don't know is that the chunk destroyer is busted. We're going to have more items than we have space for, and this is, in my opinion, the perfect setup for storing all of these items. So for the last step of this storage system, I'm actually going to link this drawer wall directly into my RS system. To do this, we'll need to make some cables and something called the external storage. I want to place the external storage directly on the back side of the controller. Then I'm going to run some cables to connect it to at least one of my RS blocks. I decided to run it underneath all the way to the crafting grid. There's one more very important step that I need to do here. I right click on the external storage and set the priority to 1. This makes it where whenever I pull or push items into the system, it always tries to place them in the drawers first. That way I don't fill up my 64K storage disk with just a ton of random items that can easily be stored into the drawers. And now that we have a beautiful wall of drawers, we can finally finish making the chunk destroyer. To make it, we gotta make the workbench plus first and hook that up to power. Since it takes a ton of items, I like to just go ahead and throw like as much of the items as I can into the workbench. This thing seems like it can hold like an infinite amount of sacks of stuff, so it has no problem storing everything. Once everything is in, I go ahead and make the 3 Quarry plus blocks that I need. To make the pump plus blocks, I need to smelt down some more glass and then grab all the cactus that I've been growing from the last episode. I told you we needed them. I need to make 2 of the pump pluses, but I ran out of redstone. Well, time to chug another sight potion and go back to mining, I guess. Now we have enough redstone, hopefully. We make our marker, the last pump plus, and then we lay out everything to see what we're missing for the chunk destroyer. And we're missing 2 nether stars, which means we need to kill the wither at least twice. In the future, we're going to need hundreds of thousands of nether stars. So I want to do a little prep for that now. I'm going to make a deep learner from the mod Hostile Neural Networks. Then I want to make a model framework. I also want to make some wither skeleton skulls, which looks like we have enough to make the 2 withers. Now, all we need to do is make Magic Bane stronger. So I'm going to show you a trick for enchant. I've got all of these amazing swords with great enchants on them, but how can we get the enchants off easily? There's actually a super easy way to do this. We need some obsidian, a lot of books, and an anvil. Now let's set this up. So fun fact, during this part of the recordings, a huge storm happened in real life and knocked out my power for several hours. I was actually really scared that I lost the recordings, but instead, something really weird happened when I booted all the mods 8 back up. I loaded in and everything seemed fine, except I didn't have any power.
Oh, that's not good.
I opened up my Flux point and found out why. I didn't have a network anymore. I make another network on my Flux plug, but my point still wasn't working. I had plenty of ethylene, so I was able to make plenty of power. I ended up breaking my plug and placing it back, then doing the same thing for the point. That seemed to fix it. I just thought it was really weird that a storm in real life caused me to lose power both in real life and in game.
All right, that was weird.
All right, so back to that enchant trick. Step 1, place down obsidian into the ground. Step 2, make another anvil because apparently the one I made earlier didn't count. Step 3, have a panic attack because another day just passed. Actual step 3, throw down the item you want enchants off of. Then throw down a bunch of books with it. Step 4, place the anvil above it so that it falls onto the items. And step 5, profit. I do this for the rest of the swords that I want the enchants from, and now it was time to beef up Magic Bane some more. I want to add unusing so that it won't ever break, and then I also add unbreaking so that it breaks a lot slower. Those 2 make sense, right? But this is actually all I could add because I was out of experience.
Ooh.
26 damage isn't that bad though, right? I went ahead and made a few more model frameworks. Then it was off to fight the wither.
Buddy, do you want to come with me, buddy?
Gotta make a quick stop to get some soul sand. Then I dig this nice little room for us to fight in. You won't believe this, but I have another trick for the wither. Claim the area you want to fight them in. It prevents them from destroying most of the blocks around you.
Oh, that's right. We need body, don't we? Body, this is kind of a cramped space, so you guys are gonna be okay, right? Right?
Now, I just gotta place down the wither skeleton skulls and...
I think we should be okay. Right? Right? Right?
With the model frameworks in hand, I right-click the wither with each of the models so that way I can have a bunch of them for later. I quickly place all 4 of them into my deep learner.
Oh man, did I pick the wrong time to do this. I should have made a lot more space.
And now we kill the withers.
See, buddy, that wasn't so bad, was it?
And there it is, the 2 nether stars that we need to make the chunk destroy. We throw them into the workbench and...
Beautiful. This might take a little while. Especially since it's not plugged up.
I scoot the point over and...
Oh. Oh.
Now we have the chunk destroyer. That means we can set this up, right?
Wrong.
We need a few more things to get this sucker running. First, we'll need a few ender chests, which means we'll need some more leather. That's easy. We just need to use the drying basin to make some. I thought I'd already made one, but after looking and looking, I decided it was just easier to just make another. I head to the overworld to hunt down a squid. It dropped enough ink sacks for me to make the basin, so we head back and just get a basic setup going. All I did to do this was pipe in flesh from a chest above it, then piped out leather into a chest beside it. To get this to work right, I needed to give the pipe pulling the leather out a diamond upgrade so that it only pulls leather out. Now, I'll need a few more blaze rods because I accidentally used them all. And now we can make the ender chests. I went ahead and upgraded one of the backpacks to netherite as well. We don't really need this, but I want to use it for the first little while. I want a few upgrades to go with this, and since we're making backpack upgrades, I'm gonna go ahead and make a few that I'll need later for a mob farm. I'll talk more about those later on. For this setup, we really need an advanced void upgrade, an advanced compacting upgrade, and a deposit upgrade. I want to make at least 1 stack upgrade as high as I can go, which is only diamond. All right, now we're all ready to place the chunk destroyer. We place it down and open it up. I want to set the highlighted area to be in front of it, so I played around with the settings until it worked. I'm gonna set this thing to be huge so that I don't have to move it much. 10 chunks by 20 chunks seems to be just fine. Now we want to place the backpack right on top of it. This is only temporary because I still need to set up some slots in the drawers. I'll replace this later with the ender chest. All that's left to make this sucker work is to give it some power. With 1 flux point, we slap it on the side, set the network, and bam! It starts building the frame. But I want to make sure that it's digging. Just a quick check in the backpack and... oh my god, that's a lot of shit. For those who have made it to this far, I pose a question. Recently on my live stream, we kind of talked about this whole idea of what kind of video style that people may like. Do you like this speedrun style of video where I'm clipping fast and showing you all the action? Or would you prefer a more relaxed playthrough style video where I'm just talking more about what I'm doing as I do it every step of the way? Let me know in the comments below, because when I asked my chat on Twitch, we pretty much came to the conclusion that the playstyle videos are kind of nice. And if you want to join me in this Twitch chat, I stream almost every weekend over at twitch.tv/AlfredGG. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, bye!